article to you.
Yeah, which I'll read.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it kind of explained how he got involved. All right.
Cool. Okay, cool. So let's start with introducing yourself and what your role or involvement is here at Cesr.
Okay, my name is Catherine Milburn. I am an instructor here, a senior instructor. I've been here for about 7 years. Before that, I was involved in business as a chief financial officer, a couple of different companies. And my role here is as instructor in Cesr, and also I am associate director of curriculum.
Great. So talk to me a little bit about what Cesr is and why it's important to have here at Leeds.
So Cesr was first started in around 2006 as a curriculum emphasis on social responsibility, and in 2010 it became an actual center with a center designation. And it was funded in the beginning by Michael Leeds. It's been one of his passions. As you know, he started the school. He serves on our external board as well. And really the whole purpose of it is to infuse a business education with the concept of social responsibility and ethics and values, because everyone's actions really come from their values. So.
Absolutely. So why is social responsibility such a big deal?
Social responsibility is a big deal because essentially people are acting on their values. Everyone's actions really say who they are. And if you look at what's been going on in the business world, we've had a lot of problems, you might say, or poor business behavior. And so one of the things we're trying to do here is to have people have an opportunity to practice how you would respond to these kinds of situations, to develop an awareness of your values and awareness of how you would behave.
So give me an example of what kind of things you're teaching in your classes to promote and foster that kind of behavior.
Well, first of all, we start in the freshman class by introducing the concept of social responsibility. And then we work with all the other departments for them to infuse these ideas in their own classes. But we also have a required junior level class called Business Applications of Social Responsibility. We have very long names for all our classes here. Anyway, and the purpose of that is to give you some foundations. It's almost like a little bit of foundation of philosophy, how are ethical decisions made, what is the free market all about? I mean, what did Adam Smith really say? And we go on to look at kind of what's going on in the world of social responsibility today. What are the theories that are out there? And then the second half of the course really applies it to all different practical applications in cases. I mean, explain this to me. What would you do? Lots of examples, lots of discussion.
So are the students doing any interactive pieces?
Well, we have several different classes. One class we have is Business Solutions for the Developing World, which is a service learning class, and it allows students to apply, how would you say, business solutions to addressing issues in the developing world. And they work with projects all over the world with different groups of people. That's one of them. Then we have also some other new classes that just started this year. One of them is integrated reporting. It's co-shared with accounting, and it is a kind of a leading edge type of information class because we're looking at this new idea of integrating social responsible reporting along with financial reporting into one report called integrated report. And this is this is actually being used in a lot of different places in the world. And hopefully it'll come to the United States soon. There are a few companies that use it here.
So tell me a little bit about the certificate program now and what's involved in that.
So as a center, we have a certificate, and a lot of the centers have certificates, and it's called a Social Responsible Enterprise Certificate. And students take a certain number of classes. They have to have some kind of practical service experience or internship. That can vary a lot with each student, and then they have to complete sort of a reflection paper and meet with a faculty member, and then they can have this certificate, and I believe it is designated on their diploma. And a lot of students really like this because they have some practical experience, and a lot of companies and employers are asking for this now.
So yeah, go into that a little bit more. This is a newer concept, and is this becoming kind of a required standard amongst corporations?
Well, it was newer. Now I think the word sustainability, corporate social responsibility is just everywhere. It's so prevalent that you don't even know really what it means. And so there is a lot of debate in the business school world as to whether, can you teach values, can you teach ethics, does it matter, should you do this or not? But Leeds and Cesr is actually a leader, one of the leading schools in promoting this. As you know, last year, Cesr brought Andrew Fastow to the school, and that's been a great learning experience for a lot of people. So I can't, we'll see. Let's look in a couple of years.
Is it something that you think if I went out and I had gotten the Cesr certificate on my resume, would that be a differentiating point for a student to get hired?
I think it can be in some industries. I really think it does make a difference. One of the reasons that we're offering the integrated reporting class is we've had accounting firms as well as other non-accounting firms say, I wish we had students that knew about this. This is coming up in the future, and we would like them to know about this. So sometimes we're responding to requests from potential employers. And I think students have talked to me often that they use their projects in the business solutions class, and then that was a differentiator for them.
Great. So last question for this topic, and then we'll move on. But tell me a little bit about how Leeds is one of the #1. Give me some one-liners about how Leeds is one of the leaders for CSR.
Well, I think when Michael Leeds, over 10 years ago, came to the University of Colorado and decided to make his endowment here, one of his goals was to incorporate social responsibility, ethical behavior in business. So back in that time frame, we started right away with that as our emphasis. So over time, it has grown, and to the point where we have now been listed in several different articles. We have a conference that started as Conscious Capitalism a couple years ago. This year it's a full entire week of all sorts of different events to expose people to what we're doing. We have had, as I said, speakers, Andrew Fastow, among others, that have come to speak on the topic. So I think also some of the feedback from students who have graduated is that this has been one of the strong things that they learned in their college career here.
Great. Okay. So this next part may not be in this particular story, but I may be doing a story on this because it's fascinating, and I think it would be a good news story.
Yeah.
But talk to me a little bit about the difference between for-profit and nonprofits, and why for-profit is becoming more of the better way to help impoverished countries.
Okay, that could be a whole entire course, but we'll do it in a nutshell. If you think about, on one level, for-profit and nonprofit really has to do with where do you want to get your money. If you want your money to come from donations and to be tax deductible or to get grants, a lot of times a nonprofit is the way to go. On the other hand, there have been some problems in terms of ability and access to capital, and a lot of times people have a great business with a social mission, and they want to be able to gather investors. They want to be able to access capital, what they perceive to be capital in a wider range. And so that's one reason that happens. In terms of the mission themselves, you can have social businesses that are either nonprofit or for-profit. I think the driving factor is this idea that donations to help people can disappear or stop unexpectedly. And that if you can find a way to make it, and I'm going to use one of these words, sustainable, self-supporting, that perhaps being a for-profit is a better way to go.
So explain, what is for-profit?
So in the realm that we're talking about, in the realm of social business and social entrepreneurship, we're talking about businesses that have a social mission. That is what they are trying to do. And they have a social mission, and what they're trying to do is accomplish that mission, so their profits do not go back to investors. Their profits go back into the business to further the mission. And that's really what we're talking about in this particular case. There is a new form of corporation that has just evolved called a benefit corporation. I think 11 states have that right now. And in that case, the board of directors can set the duty for the business to have a social mission as well. It does not have to be solely to maximize profits, and so you may see more of those arising as well.
So in the case of aiding people who are in poverty, is it better to have for-profit rather than having donations in the nonprofit industry?
You know, I think it really it depends on your stage of development. You might start as a nonprofit because that's what you need to do, and then you evolve into a for-profit. I don't think that that's the distinction that's the starting point. I think the starting point is what do you want to do, and then what is the best way to accomplish it, and where are you going to get your initial funds.
Cool. And that's basically the questions I had for that. And we met with Educate earlier.
Oh, okay.
And, you know, we're coming into this issue where people kind of have a negative connotation with for-profit industry. And they're like, well, we don't want to. I mean, you're for profit, you know.
Right. I think a better word to use. I don't think the words for profit and nonprofit really help. I think social entrepreneurship or social business are the words that should be used. The actual form, I think, is in some ways irrelevant.
Okay. Yeah. And that's interesting, and that's something we have to deal with her.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Are you guys good? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep.
So now let's go on to Warren Buffett.
Okay.
So tell me a little bit about what you guys are doing with the Warren Buffett trip and how this came about.
Well, there's an individual here who, well, first of all, one of the things at this center is we often have a compass. I should have brought it in. And the compass we give to our board members and other people to remind them never to lose your moral compass, that you need to always have that as your internal guide. And we had a person here on our staff who went to, actually owned some stock in Berkshire Hathaway, went to the annual investors meeting, took one of the compasses with her, wanted to give it to Warren Buffett, was unable to give it to Warren Buffett, gave it to someone else on the staff, and lo and behold, you know, didn't hear anything for a while, and out of the blue, got a call from someone from his office who had said he had seen it, he was really impressed with it, he liked the idea of having a moral compass, and had it on his desk. And so wanted to know if we would be interested in being one of the colleges that come on Fridays. Some Fridays, I really don't know how many a year, where 8 colleges come, bring 20 people from each college, and have the opportunity to have a Q&A session with Warren Buffett and then lunch. And apparently schools are on this list, a waiting list to get into this for quite a number of years. And Leeds had the opportunity as a result of this to kind of be put on to, bumped up on the list of schools waiting to get invited. And so we were invited this March, and that's kind of the story behind it.
So tell me a little bit about why it's such a huge accomplishment to meet with Warren Buffett. Like, what has he done that is so appealing to Cesr?
Well, first of all, I think you start with the fact that he could have contacted the finance group. There could have been a finance group here. But I think he was intrigued by our moral compass and our emphasis on social responsibility. I think that anybody who's involved in finance or who has heard about Warren Buffett would probably be interested in having an opportunity to spend a couple of hours with him. So, and we're hoping when we get there that some of our questions will address the ideas of social responsibility as well. And so I'm not sure there was a direct connection other than we were invited with Warren Buffett, and because it's a holding company, and they have all sorts of different companies that are there. Some are socially responsible, some aren't as socially responsible. So that's partially what we're hoping to learn when we go.
So do you think our values align with his, I say our,
yeah.
Cesr's values align with his in terms of his philanthropic activities?
You know, his philanthropic activity has really been amazing. I mean, he gave away everything. And as a percentage, that's probably the largest donor ever in the United States. So yes, his idea of philanthropy. But he also has some really other ideas in terms of valuing hard work, valuing the free market, generally treating people well, being honest, transparent. And so yes, I think all those values resonate with Cesr.
So tell me the logistics. Who's going? What students? How many? How were they chosen?
So we thought we knew that once this got out, that there would probably be a lot of students that wanted to go on this trip. So we had an application. We asked the students why they want to go and what kind of questions would they ask. And so we got the applications back and sorted through them and had the very difficult decision, because there were a lot of great applications and great questions, of choosing 20 students to go. Actually, I think it's 19. I think a total of 20 people, 19 students and 1 faculty member. And so the logistics of it were interesting. You're required to have only 1 faculty member can go. It has to be, the rest all have to be students. A third of the group has to be female. And I think those were the requirements in terms of the group. Oh, and then you have to choose questions, and you have to select people to ask the questions, and that the questions will be rotated among the 8 schools attending. So that's that part of it. Once you go there, you have the opportunity to add on a couple of optional tours of Berkshire Hathaway companies. One's a furniture mart and one's a jewelry store. And to be honest, I'm really looking forward to see what that's going to be like. But the logistics are, we do a tour in the morning. We have a 2-hour Q&A session with 160 other students, which I think is pretty amazing. And then we go to lunch for another 2 hours, and then we have some photos taken. We go on another tour, and we get back on the plane and come home.
Very nice. So what are you hoping to accomplish from this meeting with Warren Buffett amongst the students as well as yourself, the Cesr program?
Well, I think that it's an exciting opportunity. I think that it's really to our credit that we were invited because of something on one level as simple as saying everyone should have an internal moral compass. On the other hand, I think while we're there, I think a lot of students we obviously have some investment questions, but I think the questions can be quite personal and can be directed towards social responsibility and values as well. And I think that just hearing the questions and the answers that will be posed will be great.
Awesome. Okay, do you guys have any other things I'm missing?
No.
All right.
Do you want to go on the trip?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yes, please. And is there anything you think I'm missing that would be good to include? This will be yours too.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to think of, anyway, I don't know. I mean, Cesr paid for half of the students' fare. I don't know if that's relevant or not. I'm not sure it is. And honestly, I just think it's going to be really interesting to hear the questions. I know that at the annual meeting, literally you can ask him anything. I mean, anything. I'd be curious with all these competitive business students. I think Yale's going to be one of the schools there. I think we've got a couple other big schools. I'm curious to see the types of questions that'll be there.
What are you most excited about?
I think that Warren Buffett is his own charismatic person. The words he uses, if you've ever read an annual report or some of his letters, it's unlike anyone else's. And I just think it's a unique opportunity to meet an interesting person who's been incredibly philanthropic and has been extremely successful.
Do you know any of the other schools that are going besides Yale?
I don't. I don't have the list.
I assume schools like that, though, like NYU.
Yeah, I mean, I did not realize until I did a little research this morning, and apparently he does this several Fridays during the year, that he considers it one of his ways of teaching and giving back. And he used to go to the schools and give the speeches himself, but I think that got to be too much, and so he has people come. And
it's even cooler. That's like kind of being like how Bill Gates says his thing.
Yeah.
Come to
Well,
my
see,
mansion.
it's like
his
area.
It's more of an experience.
Yeah. Well, and he talks about, what's kind of funny, he goes, "Welcome to Omaha, the birthplace of capitalism in the United States," or something like that. His sayings, I mean, they are quite, I don't know, you even picked up just a few of them. I mean, it's quite interesting. Apparently, the annual investors meeting turns into a huge shopping spree. I mean, I kind of wondered why we were going to go visit a furniture mart and a jewelry store, but as I started reading his annual report and his letters, he's like, we got the best shopping going. And so all of his companies, when they have their annual shareholder meeting,